YouTube. So I am a writer. I write paranormal, and so everything I write kind of should fall under there somewhere, kind of in the new adult category. So you may or may not know, I had a book come out May 10th, 2017. So, what this book is about, it's about Tatum, and she is a psychic, but she's not just a psychic. She also has these abilities that allow her to make like curses and plagues, and she takes these down to the supernatural black market and sells them. And so her abilities catch the attention of some very seedy individuals who want her to come work for them. And of course she gets into trouble, which is part of fun, right? So that's the book in a nutshell. And it is not the first book that I've finished. It's actually, I've written quite a few books. Over the years, I've been writing novels for what I call novels. Basically, it's kind of like, I've written to date 20 novels. I would say the first 9 are not really long enough to be novels. I started writing things that were long enough and, you know, like developed enough or whatever in 2007. And well, the very end of 2007. So basically 2008. And that was my first like novel that was long enough to be a novel. And it was after like I had had some writing classes and I read some books on writing and like I understood what problem I kept having before. So that was novel number 10. And so if I just count from that novel, then I've written 10 novels in the last 10 years. So Notice for the Wicked would be novel number I guess 19. So not my first book. I definitely had to learn a lot of things the hard way. Not because I didn't want to learn them, but because like good help was like really hard to find. And it's kind of hard to get better when you don't have anybody like helping you and like directing you and like helping you figure out like what you're doing. So that took a while to find some good help, and I've kind of always been like drawn to like darker themes and darker stories. And it's funny because I can trace it like when I'm like all the way back to when I was like a little girl. And it's one of my first memories I have is like sneaking downstairs and playing like this like cemetery sounds on a record player. And I barely even remember record players, so I know I had to have been like 4 or 5 or something. And my parents would like play this on Halloween. So I kind of always been like just like drawn to like just like that supernatural stuff and like ghosts and stuff like that. And I wrote about vampires for probably about 10 years straight. Well, I say 10 years straight, but like in that 10-year period, I had probably, 7 years where I did like hardly no writing. Part of that was due to the fact that like I was in college some of those years and I was very busy. And then part of it was due to the fact that like I would write something and it would suck and then I would kind of quit for a while. But like once I got to about 2011, I didn't have any more like years where I quit for like years. You know, in 2011, I was at this point I was tired of writing about vampires. But I was having a hard time writing about anything else because I had been writing about them for so long. And so I had a 4-book vampire series idea. And I'm not a serious kind of writer. I'll probably talk more about this later. But I had an idea for a vampire series. It was 4 books. And I didn't want to write 4 books because that just sounded exhausting. And so I was like, oh, hey, I'll write like 2 books and it'll be fine. But I couldn't squeeze all the information in 2 books. There was way too much going on. And so I spent several months trying to fix the problem and also coming to terms with the fact that it was gonna have to be 4 books if it was going to be done right. And so I started over in 2012, and I started the series over, and I loved that book. And it was like it's what I compared everything else I wrote to. It was the wall I bounced all my other ideas off of. And if I didn't love the story as much as I loved that vampire story, then it just wasn't good enough. But I didn't write the other books in the series because if you are familiar with the timeline, 2012 was at the height of the Twilight hysteria. And at the time, I was not willing to go on a self-publishing route. I was, traditional path or die. So I could not do anything with the book, basically. And it was also kind of a relief because I didn't actually want to write all those books. It did sound exhausting. I was worn out with vampires. And so I did want to hang them up for a while, but I still kind of felt like my hand was forced at the same time. So even though it's something I wanted to do, I was bitter about it. I did get on board with some other ideas, and since 2011, I have been consistently and actively, constantly working on something. I didn't write anything new in 2015 because I was brainstorming a lot, and I was trying to sort through just some crap in my head, so I didn't get much done. And part of the reason why I didn't get a lot done is because I had gotten into a pattern of writing stuff that I didn't really enjoy. I was experimenting with all these crazy things, and none of it's a waste. They all made my writing better overall, and it all helped me realize what I did want to write about and help me refocus on that and just get me back on track with where I was when I was writing about vampires but not write about vampires anymore. And it's funny because it's I'm not tired of vampires in general. I was just tired of writing about them myself. So I'll talk more about the indie writer path later, and kind of why I kind of changed my mind about it and things of that nature. But yeah, that's just a little bit about my writing journey and a little bit about where I've come from. So I'll see you next time. Bye.